I see some new faces on here. I love the new faces I'm seeing. That's pretty cool. Oh. Kelsey, mute yourself. I can't mute you. There you go. Jack got you. Okay. For those of you that were not on last week, we started our 4-part series with Brian. Hopefully you went back and watched the recording. If not, you can do that after this call. He is basically my brother from another mother. The brother that I never had, that I never really wanted, but somehow I got him anyway. But he is really awesome. And I don't like to tell him that often because I feel like he gets, a big head or something. But he really is. Some of the things he says is pretty inspiring. I don't know if he picked back up on his motivational page, but he needed to, because he used to do little videos of the morning. And I can tell by his look on his face that he did not. So I'll have to get onto him. But he used to do little morning videos to start your day off. And he would send them to me first to make sure that he didn't sound stupid, which half the time he did anyway, but I would tell him no, so he'd post them just because the message was good. So hopefully he'll start doing that again, because a lot of them really made my day, like it started my day off great, because sometimes people just need to hear a little bit of encouragement or inspiration of the morning to get their day started off. And he can do that for you. But he's been a district sales manager for Performance Foods now for quite a few years. He's been in sales business for over 25 years. And he started dabbling in motivational speaking probably I think maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was during COVID, basically. And I kind of pushed him into that because he was thinking about it. And I was like, you're really good at this. You should do it. Like, if you have a dream, you should definitely go for it. Whether you fail or not, at least you went after it, because you only have one life. That's one thing that I try to stress all the time. You have one life. You do not get to live it over. This isn't a dress rehearsal. And so if you have a dream, go for it. Don't care. Don't worry about if someone thinks it's stupid, if it's silly. It doesn't matter. If it's your dream, go for it. And this was his, and I told him he should do it, and he's really good. So last week he did give us some homework. He wanted us to write down reasons that why we are not being successful, and what is your strategy to meet that and stuff like that. So make sure you've done your homework. He's not going to ask you what it is, but when he starts talking about it, that's what his homework was. So I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
All right, thank you, Carmen. Can everybody hear me? Can I get a thumbs up or okay? All right, thank you all. Thanks for having me back again tonight. And yes, I did fail to post anything on my motivational page. I give you 1,000 excuses, but then that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of this whole training session, because I wouldn't be practicing what I preach. So I will get on that. I do need to get on that. And a lot of the times I don't do it. It might sound kind of weird. I won't really do it to help others as much as I do it to help myself. A lot of times we need the advice that we're given more than those that we might be giving it to. And it's just a reality. But we'll go ahead and dive right on to this, because I know you all have kids to get ready for bed, lunches to pack, the whole 9 yards. So last week we talked about excuses and basically what excuses were. And I still believe that it's for the lazy. Excuses are 100% for the lazy people. And you won't find success through excuses. You either have excuses or you have progress. So tonight we're going to figure out how to turn those excuses into obstacles, but more so turn those obstacles into opportunities. And, we talked last week, the difference between excuse and an obstacle. And we all know if we're giving ourselves excuses, if we're using excuses, it's because we're not truly on the journey to success. We're not truly moving forward in life in our career or whatever it may be. We're sitting there and we're giving ourselves reasons to be unsuccessful, and we're playing the woe is me card. So in reality, we need to learn how to turn those excuses into obstacles that we turn into opportunities. So tonight, I really want to focus on turning obstacles into opportunities. It's pretty simple and pretty easy to figure out how you turn the excuse into obstacles, right? And the way to do that is you move forward. You quit being sediment and you move forward. Then that excuse becomes an obstacle. So how do we take those obstacles that we face? How do we turn those into opportunities? We all know as we drive down the road, whether we're going to the beach, we're going to the mall, wherever we're going, we always end up on a road where there are obstacles, whether it be potholes, whether it be construction, whether it be a speed trap, whether it be a collision, whether it be a poor person panhandling at the intersection. We run into obstacles every day. Life is no different than the highway we drive day in and day out. It's full of obstacles. Our sales career is full of obstacles. Our life as a spouse, as a parent, as a brother, a child, there's always obstacles, right? If we're moving forward, we're always going to face an obstacle. So how do we turn those obstacles into opportunities? Because that's the key. They're going to be there. There's no way around them. So first of all, we have to be able to identify what the obstacle is, right? And again, going back to the whole excuses versus obstacles, if we're identifying the obstacle and what it truly is, we have to be able to identify exactly what that obstacle is and not view it as an excuse. We have to be able to identify what is preventing us from getting down the path we're on. We talked last week about I don't have enough time. It's an excuse, right? But it's also an obstacle. Because if we're moving forward and we're viewing it as I don't have enough time, then we've taken an excuse, we've turned it into an obstacle, right? So now we've identified I don't have enough time. Upon identification of that, we go back to not allowing it to be an excuse again, right? So once we've identified that I don't have enough time for this, it's easy to slide right back into, okay, I just don't have enough time. And then we either change our course or we quit moving forward, right? So after we identify, we have to make sure we don't allow it to become that excuse again. We've moved past that. We've moved forward, and we've got to make sure of that. The next thing we have to do is we have to identify the reason that that obstacle exists. I don't have enough time is an easy one. I know I keep using that one because in life, that's probably the number one excuse anybody gives for anything that they don't do and follow through on. So I don't have enough time. So why do you not have enough time, right? So you've identified it. You've not allowed it to be an excuse. So now you got to determine why that obstacle is placed there, why that obstacle is in front of us. How did I get here? How did this happen, right? At the end of the day, we can only control, we can only worry, focus on the things that we can actually truly change, the things that we can actually truly control. And believe it or not, time is something we can control. Time is something we can change. We don't think we can, but we truly can. It's priorities. What truly means the most to us is what we truly do. So after we identify that obstacle, we've determined why it's there. We've made sure we don't make it an excuse again. And we've figured out how we control that obstacle. And that's where we go from there. Then we have to truly embrace that obstacle. So what does it mean to embrace an obstacle? Why would we want to embrace an obstacle? What is it that, I mean, that's preventing me from getting to where I want to go. So why would I ever embrace something like that? Well, we want to embrace it because we all know anything that's worth having, anything that's worth doing comes with challenges, correct? If it's easy, would not everybody be in Cincy? If it's easy, would everybody not be successful? So we all know that anything that's worth having, anything that's worth doing comes with challenges, comes with those obstacles. So we need to embrace it. We need to be okay with that obstacle being there. We need to make sure that we have an access to a plan, to our path, that we've identified what that plan is, what that path is that we want to go on. And we accept that obstacle as nothing more than it's just an obstacle. It's just a wall. It's just a door that's been shut. It's just a pothole in the road. And if you live where I live, then you understand there's obstacles about every 20 yards, unfortunately. But we also got to be careful with these obstacles, right? So when we embrace them, we also got to understand that they could lead to a larger obstacle. They could lead us to a path that we wasn't truly wanting to go on. They could lead us in a direction where we hadn't really planned on going. Does that mean we're heading the wrong way? Does that mean we didn't handle the obstacle correctly? My answer to that is simple. It's no. We get so caught up in, I went to the beach this way every time, and that's the only way I can get to the beach. Can't go any other way. If there's an obstacle in the way, I'm just going to have to set in traffic because this is the only way I can get to the beach, right? Well, in life, those obstacles, they pop out. And sometimes they pop out, and the reason they do is because we really need to be on a different path to get where we're wanting to be. We really need to be driving down the road that's parallel, or we need to go south so then we can turn and go east after we go south for so long. Those obstacles leading to other obstacles to make us think, to slow us down, to make us understand why that obstacle is truly there. So we've identified that obstacle. We've embraced that obstacle. And I probably feel like in my life, embracing the obstacle is one of the hardest parts. That's when it's easier to turn it back to an excuse. And that's where we have to be careful. Because why do I want to embrace something that's slowing me up? Something that's causing me turmoil, something that's causing me to stumble on my path. So why would I want to embrace that? Because it's part of our character. That roadblock, that obstacle, that stumbling block, that pothole in the road, it's part of who we are. It's part of who molds us to help us down the rest of the path, the rest of the journey, right? So that's why we need to embrace it, because it's part of us. It's part of what we have to go through to be strong enough to get to that possible next obstacle. And I say possible next obstacle, but we all know there will be another obstacle, right? So if we embrace it now and we accept it, it becomes easier to move on and be ready for the next one. So the next thing we need to do is take action. So we need to create a plan. My boss and my president of my opco and stuff, they tell us all the time as sales leaders that we have to be up above, almost like a, we call it a drone. We have to be up in that drone, looking down on our sales team, looking down on our environment, on our sales world from way up above to get a true view of what's going on. So we can actually create a plan on how to get past the obstacles that we face and that our teams face. So we have to create a plan. And I hear people say all the time when they face an obstacle or they face difficulties or they struggle, I hope I can get through this. I hope I can find a way. I hope I can get to the other side of this. I hope this strengthens me. I hope. Hate to bust anybody's bubble, but hope's not a plan. Hope's a dream. Dream's what you do when you go to sleep. Dream is not for the living, the walking, the successful people. You start as a dream. It starts as a dream, but then it has to be put into action. Once you put it into action, the dream's gone. It becomes reality for you. Hope is just part of that dream. When I hope I can get past something, when I hope I can overcome something, I'm never going to get there with just hope alone. I hope I'll win the lottery. And I can say that because I don't play the lottery. So I can hope all I want to. I'm going to be like the 9 million other people playing it. I'm not going to win. I'm just going to still have my 20 bucks in my pocket. Hope will never get you anything. Hope will make you feel good about what's going on. Hope will make you okay with that excuse. Hope will get you sympathy from others, but hope will never get you past any obstacle. So when we make that plan, we have to list our possible solutions. And yes, that solution has an S on the end, as in solutions. Too many times we make a plan and there's only one way. We don't realize that we need to focus on possibilities. We need to have more than one possible plan of action. When we list the possible solutions, we list the possible outcomes, good and bad. Therefore, that's why we have to have possible solutions versus just a solution. When we list the possible outcomes, we're helping ourselves see into the future. We're helping ourselves see what the other side could look like, good and bad. Because I always believe you have to plan to be successful. You have to plan for it going right, but you also have to prepare for the bad that could come out of it, for what could go wrong through that, because again, it could lead to another obstacle. So if we're planning and listing solutions, if we're listing our possible outcomes, good and bad, it's easier to dial into which plan to get around that obstacle we really need to do. We plan every day. And I know everybody's probably heard this. You either plan to succeed or you plan to fail. Either way, you plan. So why not dive into the plan? Why not look at it from that helicopter view way above to where you can see everything on the other side. Then after you've developed this plan, whenever you've listed out all your possible solutions and your outcomes, then you have to decide what you need to make that happen. In a sense of the world, maybe you need your sales leader's help. Maybe it's one of your fellow sensitarians. I don't know what you call yourselves, but we're going with sensitarians. That's a new word. I'm going to patent that. But what do you need to make that happen? Do you need help from others? Do you need to get outside your box, outside of your comfort zone? What do you truly need to make that happen? Only you will know that. So after we've identified the obstacle, we've embraced that obstacle. Now we've got our plan, right? Here's the key. Here's the key. This is step number 4, and this is the key. Now it's time to stay positive. Now it's time to stay positive. You heard me say earlier, you can only control what you can control. We can control our attitude, even though we cannot control the events that come from it. We can control our attitude, even though we cannot control the events that come from it. I say it all the time, positivity breeds positivity. And I think I might have said that back and we were doing the first series several years ago. Positivity breeds positivity. When we're negative, when we focus on those bad things that can come from our solutions, when we focus on how bad that obstacle is, when we focus on what could go wrong, when we focus on how bad this is, we'll never get around that obstacle. We'll never see from way above the potential outcomes, the potential win, the moving forward. We won't see that because we'll be so focused on that negative that we can't control it. We have to allow self-growth through uncomfortable solutions. See, not every solution that we're going to come up with, not every plan that we're going to have is going to be comfortable for us. How many of us have ever done anything that's uncomfortable? We all have. Carmen might laugh and she might roll her eyes, but and I tell her this every Monday when she messages me sometime through the day about this, and I tell her, and this is no lie, believe this or not, I become a nervous wreck. Mondays are always tough. My Mondays are a little bit tougher right now. I get a little nervous. But self-growth comes from stepping outside of that box. Self-growth comes from making ourselves uncomfortable. And unfortunately, a lot of the ways around our obstacles that we face, whether it be the time obstacle or excuse, is by stepping outside of our box, by making ourselves uncomfortable. Well, I don't have enough people in my area to sell to. I don't have enough people to market this Cincy to in my area. Are you making yourself uncomfortable by going out and finding those opportunities? I'm going to say, if you're saying you don't have enough, then I'm going to answer that for you. No, you're not. Because you're too comfortable where you're at. You're too comfortable in your little group, in your little nest, to really step out there. Self-growth will only come when we make ourselves uncomfortable. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a product of that. quick story. I've been a district sales manager for, I think it was 6 years this past April. And about 8 months before that, my manager at that time came to me and asked me to do a presentation. And I might have shared this story before. Asked me to do a presentation in front of the entire sales team. And I'm not talking about a little team of 10. I'm talking about 140 sales reps, the vice president, president. I think our regional president was there, large. I'm not a public speaker at that point. Really don't like speaking in front of people. But I knew where I wanted to be in my career. I knew I wanted to be a district sales manager. And I knew the only way to do that was step outside of my comfort zone and take that next step, take that next move, make that plan to get around that obstacle that was in my way of being a DSM. So I stepped outside of my comfort box, out of my comfort zone, out of my box. See, that's where my growth came from. That's how I got here. I might be a nervous wreck tonight. I might spend from about 1 o'clock Monday afternoon till about 8:30 figuring out how I can let Karma down and tell her I can't show up. But I push through. I step outside of my comfort box, out of my comfort zone, out of my box, because that self-growth means a lot to my journey to success. To stay positive, we have to focus on the wins. We have to always see the losses because they're always going to be there. But we have to focus and stay focused on the wins that we get from getting around each obstacle. So how does all this make these obstacles into opportunities? How does these 4 steps create opportunities? Well, I don't have enough
Go to bed.
to focus on Cincy right now. I don't have enough time. Well, if I've identified that as my obstacle, I've embraced it, and I've made my plan. My opportunity then is I can create more time, right? There's not enough people in my area to sell Cincy to. It's flooded. And this is no lie. From the same area Karma's from, her original area she's originally from, there's a lot of Cincy people in my area. A lot. But I still see more people getting into it. I could get into it tomorrow, and I could find a way to be successful. That time, I find an opportunity in that time. Not having enough people, I find people. I find that opportunity because I've got a plan. I've embraced that obstacle. I've got a plan, and I see the positive side. And that positive isn't always picking up more Cincy. It's making a new friend. It's meeting new people that might know somebody to send you to. There's so much more to it than just Cincy. And you're all here because you're successful or you want to be successful in selling Cincy. But I tell people all the time, my sales reps, we're successful in our business of selling food, but it's so much more than just selling food. See, we get caught up in, well, it's Cincy. This is all about Cincy. I'm on a Cincy call. My life's about Cincy. But Cincy's just a stepping stone to success. That's all it is. It's just a stepping stone to meeting new people, going on new trips, doing things you never thought you could do. And that all comes from getting around those obstacles to where you are more successful, where you do make more money, where you do meet more people. And then life gets easier outside of the Cincy world. The obstacles you face out in real life, the obstacles you face in marriages, any relationship, financial, regular work, whatever it may be, they become easier to face because you work through it through your Cincy life. You develop that plan and you saw success through there, and that success carries on through the rest of your life. Roy T. Bennett said, turn your obstacles into opportunities and your problems into possibilities. Turn your obstacles into opportunities and your problems into possibilities. Hand in hand. Those go hand in hand. See, our problems or our obstacles are not the end for us. They're not the thing to make us set back and give an excuse of why we can't get to the other side. They're set there to strengthen us. They're set there to give us that self-growth. They're set there to teach us how to step outside of our box, step out of our comfort zone, and move forward as a salesperson, as a person in society. We have to always be making the best of our opportunities. You hear it all the time, you only live once, right? It's false, folks. It's false. It's a false statement. See, you live every day that you wake up. You only die once. You live every day that you wake up. And that's how we have to approach it. When we start realizing what all we can have, where all we can be, what kind of person we can be, those obstacles are easy to turn into opportunities. I think I said it last week, one of the easiest things to do is make an excuse. It's easy and it's lazy and it takes no effort. The first couple of times you face obstacles, they're hard. It's easy to make them an excuse. And it's harder to go through these 4 steps. But once you start developing this, every obstacle you face later on becomes easier. They never become non-existent. They never become just a breeze. Because if they are, then you're not truly stepping out of your comfort zone in life, period. I got a saying that I use all the time. AMF. You'll hear me put AMF out there all the time. I was in an email conversation back and forth with my transportation team at work. And there's a little heated email exchanges going back and forth. And I ended mine with AMF. And I just simply put, yeah, AMF. It's just AMF. And I got a call. The person was upset. They thought AMF meant I was calling him another mother trucker. And wasn't really a fun conversation to have. But AMF, always moving forward. See our obstacles that are there. If we stay focused on that obstacle for too long, we're not going to move forward. If we give an excuse and live by that excuse, we'll never move forward. If we struggle to step out of our comfort zone, if we struggle to be positive, we'll never move forward in life. See, what you get out of life is what you put into life. And if you're going to focus on the negative and on the obstacles, making excuses, you're not going to get much in life. You'll never move forward. Where you're at's where you'll be. I signed up for the Navy back in 1994. And I made a choice not to go. A choice I regret a lot. And here's the reason I regret it. Signed up for the Navy, got accepted into the Masters of Arms program, which is kind of like their military police. Very, very hard to get into, but I got accepted into it. And I was partying a lot. I was young, around that 20, 21 year, 19, 20, 21 years old, whatever I was at that time. Partying a lot, live in small town, West Virginia, greatest state there is, by the way. Living in small town, West Virginia, big name in a small pond. Hanging out with my buddies every weekend, doing the same things over and over. I chose not to go on to the Navy. I had to call my recruiter. Rusty Nichols was his name. Still remember it. Had his business card up until a few years ago. And I called him and told him that I had changed my mind, that I was leaving 84 Lumber. I was working at 84 Lumber at the time. And I was going to Lowe's to be their project sales specialist. And didn't really need his help anymore. And he got quiet for a minute. And he said, I'm going to tell you something, Brian. He said, I know what you do every weekend. I know where you hang out. I know what your buddies mean to you. And you know, if you signed up with me today and you left next week like you're supposed to, when you come back in 4 years, your buddies will be doing the exact same thing every Friday night and Saturday night that they're doing right now. You won't miss a thing. You might miss a story or two, but the stories are all the same. They're going to be doing the exact same thing. You're going to be a better person because you chose to step out of your comfort zone and do something different with your life. I laughed. Probably told that story to my buddies on Friday night when we were a couple of cases in. But it bothered me for years and years. I've told that story very often. I told it to my son, and I'll continue to tell it. Because I chose not to step out of my comfort zone at that point in my life. And it could have defined who I am today, but I chose not to let it define me. So you always got to be moving forward to get where you want to go. If you stay sediment, if you stay comfortable, you'll never get there. Turn your obstacles into opportunities. Next week, we'll talk about turning your opportunities into success. I gave you homework last week. And I want you this week to look at all of those and see what you did to change. I want you to look at how you can make these 4 steps and change those excuses to obstacles, and then those obstacles to opportunities. So next week, we'll talk about opportunities, making your opportunities successful. Does anyone have any questions or any comments or anything?
I just want to say thanks so much for jumping on here again and investing your time in us, Brian. We really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you all having me. And, you know, it's like I said last week, you know, when I do things like this, I'm preaching to myself as well. And I try to point that out because I never think that I'm successful. I think I said that back when we were talking about success. You should never think you're successful. But I critique myself all the time, and I always try to find a way to be better. And when I do these it's great for me because I'm teaching myself as well as teaching you all. So thank you for the comment.
Absolutely agree with you there. I learn so much every time I go to speak to my team or somebody else's team. It makes a big difference. You know, it makes you take a look at yourself and what you're doing right and what you might need to do differently.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Brian, this is awesome tonight. I had my two sons in here, and Jackson, my 11-year-old, was listening to a lot of what you were saying, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, that's true." He was like, I can hope to be really good at baseball, but I have to go practice." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, can't just hope, son." So it was funny because just hearing his translation of everything you were saying.
You know, it's so fun because we take youth sports and we think it's about the sport, and we don't realize what those kids are actually grasping and practicing to get better at baseball. Will you ever be in the major leagues? I don't know. One of my friends just signed his first contract out of college, and it's great. But I got a lot of other buddies that never signed anything. But what they learn, and to hear him say that, the practice life, we practice every day. Every day we have to practice. And to hear him say that, that's great. That's grasping it at a young age.
Yeah. This is awesome tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your night to do this and get on here. This is so great. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Brian, you need to come back and do this at least once a month to keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
Well, it's
You bring some hard truth
on my
to us.
toes too. So
You bring some hard truth to us and make us take a look at our own life and what we're doing that is making our business suffer.
my stepson just gave me L for loser, so I don't know what that means. But
We're just saying all the sweet stuff before Karma unmutes and says something smart assy to you.
she's been awfully quiet. I mean,
I know she's taking it.
I got a lot of it earlier, like before the call started, like some of his messages that he was sending me, you know. I make sure I get my little smart comments into him. He gets plenty of those a day.
Karma's busy.
I will tell you this, and Carmen's correct. You know, we're like brother and sister, and we all know how we treat our sisters or our brothers. And you guys get the G-rated version of how she treats me. I can screenshot anything you want and send to you, so you really know how horrible I get treated by her. And you know, my own sister treats me better than what she treats me.
You are such a liar. Okay, I will never send you a box of Scentsy again.
Well, I do appreciate that. Yes.
I mean, I mainly done it because I know how bad you stink, and I didn't want your fiance to know that. But
well, I'm at her house, so her house doesn't stink. But you know,
but it will with you there.
I did give Cincy a big prop on one of my videos back in the day.
Oh my gosh, I need to find that video and share it with you guys.
Oh, I've got
He done
it,
a commercial. He done a commercial. I didn't even ask him. Like, just all of a sudden, I think it was because we were snowed in, and I think he was delirious from being snowed in.
Well, it wasn't
And
just
he done a
little bit of
full-blown
moonshine.
commercial for the poop spray.
Yeah, a little bit of moonshine and a little bit of deliriousness. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to find that video and share it.
Well, I've got about sharing it. I don't know how far we're going with that one. Anybody else got anything constructive to say? We'll be Karma, so we can have some constructive things. But
Karma, please make sure you share that video. I need to see that
I
one.
will if I find it. I'll have to find it. It pops up in my memories every so often. So
Brian, be brave enough and post it for us.
well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll tell you what I'll do, because you know, nobody makes fun of me if I don't make fun of myself, right? I will see if I can find the video again, and I will send it to Karma, and she can get it out to you all. And you can have a laugh at my expense. And listen, I will just say, there was a good little bit of moonshine. Tickle moonshine, you'll hear about that, involved in the filming of that. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you very much, Brian, and we will see you next Monday. We really appreciate you talking to us tonight.
Thank you. Y'all have a good week.
Yes, thank you. Bye, Brian.
Bye.